Hi, I'm Sam. I'm a principal engineer here at Buildkite. Today I'm happy to say that Buildkite Pipelines now supports OIDC. OpenID Connect, or OIDC, has emerged as a popular standard for securely exchanging identity with federated systems. It avoids the need to hardcode secrets or tokens, removing the need to manage static credentials, and mitigating the risk of credentials being leaked and used by third parties. It also embeds attributes describing the authenticated identity, enabling stronger security guarantees and governance controls. What does that mean for Buildkite Pipelines? Well, previously, if you wanted to use a third-party service from within your pipeline, then you might need to store the token inside your agent, which is used by a job to then authenticate to the third-party service. But Buildkite Pipelines now acts as an OIDC identity provider, so a job running on an agent can request an OIDC identity token at runtime and exchange that token with federated systems like AWS. The identity token identifies the current job and includes attributes like pipeline and branch signed by Buildkite. This means you can write a policy allowing that token to perform certain actions like an ECS deployment using attributes within the token, like a branch of main, without any additional context. And that token has a limited lifetime. Here's roughly what an OIDC token looks like. It's a JOT, or JSON Web Token, which is encoded JSON with a header, payload, and signature. Inside the decoded payload are claimed attributes. The organization, pipeline, build, branch, commit, and step keys are all included, and useful for policy decisions. The job and agent ID are in there as well as part of the identity and for establishing provenance. And there's also an expiration time to make sure that any exposed credentials can't be used. The latest version of the Buildkite agent has a new subcommand for provisioning OIDC tokens, which you can use directly or via plugins, like this one we've written for assuming an AWS role. Let's try it out. Here's a pipeline I have that builds and pushes a container image. Looks pretty simple, and it pushes up to ECR. It's also authenticating to ECR for me in here using an instance role, but I don't want that same instance role to have access to push to the repository and also then make deployments to main. So I can add my deployment step, like down here, using our ECS deploy plugin. All it really does is grabs the image from that same repository and then updates a service inside the cluster, and I can tell it to use some different credentials using OIDC. That plugin I mentioned, the Assume Role with Web Identity plugin, you pretty much just drop it in like this as a plugin alongside your existing usage. So I can pop that in here. And now I need a role. So setting up a role on the AWS side is reasonably simple. We come over to the IAM console. Firstly, we need to set up an identity provider so that our AWS account understands that it needs to trust Buildkite. And we're using OpenID Connect. And the value here is just agent.buildkite.com, which is the agent API. It'll grab a little thumbprint, and I'm going to tell it to use a specific audience. So in this one, the default audience is going to be sts.amazonaws.com. I'll just add it there. Great. I can see the provider's been added. And I need to assign an IAM role to start using the provider. So if I assign a role here, I'm going to create a new role. Ooh, hello, new window. So that's the identity provider we've just created. We'll select the same audience. Now I created a policy earlier called deploy to ECS. And I'm just going to call this deploy. Oh, it already exists. Let's call it deploy ECS. Great. Now I'm going to edit that into my assume script. And then I can commit that. And push it up. My new build should appear. And in a moment, you can see the new step. Now at the moment, this will work for any build on this pipeline, but we can restrict it by going to the role in IAM console and being more particular with our trust relationship. So this describes what AWS will trust based on the OIDC token. At the moment, it is allowing any valid token from our identity provider to assume this role. We can restrict it further. So here I prepared a little extra condition. So we can edit this trust policy, and as well as having it verify that we're coming from the Buildkite agent as an identity provider, we can also test the subject within the OIDC token, which contains quite a few different attributes smushed together. AWS only allows some string matching on subjects, but it is enough in our case. And this will make sure that it's coming from the correct organization, from the correct pipeline, and is only able to run on the main branch. And I can save that. And now any additional builds which happen off of the main branch, for instance, won't be able to assume this role and do the deploy steps. These identity tokens are not just limited to deployments. They can be used with the secrets broker to vary the credentials available within a job based on attributes. HashiCorp's Vault supports OIDC tokens, for example. Or you can use them with Kubernetes. OIDC tokens can be used to allow jobs to conditionally assume a service role in the cluster. Beyond federated identity, OIDC tokens may also be useful for build provenance and supply chain security. Sigstore have been working on allowing OIDC tokens to sign container images at build time so their provenance can be transparently verified later. If you try out OIDC on Buildkite and have ideas, or you just like to chat about this stuff, drop me an email or come say hi in our community Slack. Thanks.